As someone who grew up during the onslaught of the 90s alternative rock scene and experienced the heyday of the indie aughts that soon followed, it's not every day I found myself gravitating toward the latest bands trying to make their mark in the 2020s. Enter Geese, the most buzzworthy rock band of the decade. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name's Andrew. Welcome to my brand new channel, AC Accidental, a place to talk about music. Of course, from the perspective of an old millennial geezer. Now, this is my first ever video, and with that, my fate in the YouTube algorithm is entirely in your hands. If you do find yourself enjoying along the way, please do hit that subscribe button for future content updates like this and help me on the illustrious path to 1 subscriber. Today's topic will be doing a deep dive into the meaning behind Geese's hit song and a personal favorite of mine, Au Pays de Cocaine. You may be surprised what we uncover. Let's jump in. So who are Geese and why are they touted as the most buzzworthy band on the internet? The core band is a group of 4 individuals, all school friends in their early 20s hailing from Brooklyn, New York. At one point, technically, there was a 5th member of the band, a guitarist, though he decided to continue with his studies rather than pursue a music career. Permanent members in today's lineup include Cameron Winter on vocals and guitar, Emily Green on guitar, Dominic DeJesu on bass, and Max Basson on drums. Their eclectic sound is a unique combination that sees the British prog rock sound of the 70s filtered through the hardened lens of the New York City music scene over the years. Inspirational touchpoints from the Big Apple include the Velvet Underground, Television, Talking Heads, Sonic Youth, The Strokes, Dirty Projectors, and even LCD Sound System. Put that all into a blender with a dash of prog rock, and what Geese comes up with on the other end is something uniquely their own. In 2018, they began self-releasing music digitally, later signing to indie record label Partisan Records, where they released their second LP, Projector, in 2021. 2023 saw the release of their 3rd studio album, 3D Country, and most recently, their 4th album and definitive work, 2025 brought the LP Getting Killed, where song Au Pays de Cocaine is nested at track number 8. While cultivating a dedicated fan base since 2018, the buzz around Geese really picked up in 2025, particularly after the release of Getting Killed. Toward the end of the year, the album was featured in almost every notable Best Albums of the Year wrap-up list. At the same time, their singer Cameron had one of his solo songs, Love Takes Miles, hailed by Pitchfork as the best song of 2025, driving a fantastic 1-2 punch for immediate recognition. This January, Geese kicked off 2026 with a magical and polarizing performance on Saturday Night Live that seemingly broke the internet for 48 hours, performing songs Au Pays de Cocaine and Trinidad. Right after it aired, I caught this tweet from a fan account at Geese Band Update that had me in absolute stitches because I was thinking this exact same damn thing. If you're not familiar with it, Trinidad is far and away the most inaccessible song from their album Getting Killed. During the performance, Cameron's little smirk while screaming, "There's a bomb in my car," points to Geese's overall sense of humor and reckless abandon during their "We Have Arrived" moment on a national broadcast. Shortly after their SNL appearance, Geese took home International Group of the Year at the Brit Awards in February. Most recently, Geese played one of the most talked about performances of Coachella, with both Jack White and Sabrina Carpenter taking side stage vantage points to catch their set. Now, when it comes to songwriting, the musical compositions are all credited to Geese as a whole, though vocalist and lead goose Cameron Winter is the sole writer behind all lyrics. This is of course notable because it's Cameron's lyrics we'll be examining today as we put Au Pays de Cocaine under the microscope. My interest in this topic all started a few months back when I was looking up the phrase Au Pays de Cocaine. Call me a dum-dum. Somehow I'd never come across that phrase. I didn't know what it meant. Apparently it means, well, roughly translates to cocaine country or in the land of cocaine. Good to know. Adding that one to the memory bank. Through that initial search, I ended up on the Geese sub on Reddit, as you do, where a bunch of users were discussing this episode's exact topic, their interpretations of the lyrics of Au Pays de Cocaine. Now, here's an initial visual of the full song lyrics, and we'll zero in on specific segments as we go, but what I want to focus on right now and call out first, if you strip away all of the repetition, there's really only about 25 words over the entirety of this song, and man oh man, never let anyone convince you that brevity or simplicity equal a lack of depth or meaning. This has a lot beneath the surface. The Reddit thread that was digging into the lyrics of Au Pays was started by user Hello My Baby, who suggested that the song was about a parent losing a rebellious child to drug addiction. Interesting. What did other users have to say? A number of Redditors suggested various thoughts on it being about lovers or codependent partners, most of them also touching on the idea of battling with addiction. Here we have a pair of commenters building off the idea the song is actually written from the perspective of a drug. Another commenter circled back to the idea about drug addiction and begging a loved one to leave that lifestyle behind, but also added in that the green boat and green coat lyrics are in reference to an old sailor superstition about bad luck. Personally, I like how this commenter went and focused on a different part of the song, looking at the colors and trying to come up with a different theory about what that could mean, and just not specifically focusing just on the drug aspect of the lyrics. And quite frankly, I think the song title, Au Pays de Cocaine, it's actually red herring anyway. It's there meant to misdirect the listener, as I don't think the song is actually about drugs or addiction at all. To go further, I think it's an abstract reference to a time and a place, an anchor point, if you will, to a transitional moment in Cameron's life when he was writing the song. Let's actually just put a pin in that for now and come back to it later. A couple of more standout thoughts here. One commenter suggested the song, based off an article they wrote, the song is about American imperialism. An article they read. A few standout comments I want to take you through. One, so a user was suggesting that based off an article they read, the song is actually about American imperialism. Another commenter was suggesting that the green referenced in the song, so green boat, green coat, is actually a nod to the distant blinking green light at the end of Daisy's dock in The Great Gatsby. And one user was suggesting that the narrator is simply telling a loved one not to be ashamed of who they are. You might even say they shouldn't be Shame's only daughter. That one's for the Geese heads. Geese absolutely are a band that could tackle a subject like American imperialism, though I don't necessarily think it applies here with Au Pays. And as far as The Great Gatsby goes, I would say, one of my absolute personal favorites as far as literature. I also likewise don't think it applies here. And lastly, a few of the interpretations that align more closely with my own thoughts on the subject are these users suggesting the song is about losing one's inner child, the inevitable onset of adulthood, or the difficulty of letting a loved one go. And I must draw focus specifically on that wording, loved one, not lover. It's a critical distinction and one that I want to build off. So we have theories of drug addiction, codependent partners, a song written from the perspective of a drug, sailor superstitions, The Great Gatsby's green light, American imperialism, longing for a lost lover, the inevitable onset of adulthood, and the difficulty in letting go. A lot of particularly interesting takes there, though while a few of them kind of scratch at the edges, I think all of them are missing the deeper story here. And like many of the Redditors, if you happen to focus on the song's title, which admittedly can often be a good place to start, you'd likely be down the path of a drug addiction theory as well. But I'm seeing something else. So if that's not it, what does that leave us with? What is the true meaning behind the song? Penned by Cameron Winter, Geese's hit song Au Pays de Cocaine is the last lullaby of a narcissistic mother. Now, walk with me for a moment. The song is written from the perspective of a mother who's facing an identity crisis when her son, an only child, is ready to leave the nest. Rather than focusing on her son's growth, the mother here selfishly fixates on how his inevitable transition to an independent adult impacts her. With her sense of self tied entirely to motherhood and her only known identity slipping through her fingers, the mother turns to classic manipulation tactics to regain control in her life and of her son, a young adult standing before her who she will only ever see as her baby boy. To support my theory, let's focus on a few seconds of audio, and more specifically, the intro of the song. This same piece of instrumentation is also used as a turnaround before the verses, so it's a prominent bit of instrumentation, and it's nearly as important in conveying the meaning as the lyrics. I'm also going to pull up a visual that I want you to look at while the clip's playing. Here we go. Notice anything? It sounds just like a lullaby melody played from a musical mobile that hangs above a baby's crib. And if you pay attention to the very end, right before it repeats itself, there's a well-placed shaking sound, either a tambourine or a shaker that sounds a lot like a baby's rattle. Now, those notes that we hear in the intro, they're descending one step at a time through what's called a pentatonic scale. Why that's important, a pentatonic scale is a 5-note scale that has a naturally soft and harmonious sound, as it cuts out any of the clashing half steps included in a standard 7-note scale. This makes it perfect for the melody of a calm and soothing lullaby. This lullaby sound achieved by Geese here is by no means accidental. I'm so tempted to make a callback to the name of my channel, AC Accidental, but I won't. So, we've heard the lullaby melody, and I've posited that "O Pay to Cocaine" is the last lullaby of a narcissistic mother. How do the lyrics align with this theory? Let's look at the first verse. You can stay with me. Baby, you can stay with me and nobody would care. You can stay with me. You can stay with me and just pretend I'm not there. This is the mother talking to her son. When she says baby, it represents how she sees her son frozen in time in his baby form. You can stay with me and nobody would care. This is the mom saying to her son that he won't be subject to the social ridicule that generally follows with somebody's failure to launch in the Western societal norms. We have to, of course, acknowledge the fact that there are financial, social, cultural implications that, a lot of times people don't actually move out from their parents' house. Sometimes they stay there by choice. Sometimes they just need to stay there. All of that's completely fine. But in this particular song, the expectation is that the child will grow up and move out and leave the parents. You can stay with me and just pretend I'm not there. This is the mother offering to her son that he can live around her, effectively treating her like furniture, anything that will allow her to maintain control of her identity as a mother. Like a sailor in a big green boat, like a sailor in a big green coat, you can be free. You can be free and still come home. Whether you call this a refrain or a chorus, this is the mother saying to her son he'll have all the independence and freedom as an explorer at sea, allowed to come and go as he pleases while still remaining anchored to port, aka home, where she feels her baby boy belongs. Big green boat, big green coat. Yet more proof the mother will forever see her son as her baby boy. These are inadvertent references to children's books and how these books teach things like colors, sizes, articles of clothing, modes of transportation, rhymes, and the alphabet. It's not a coincidence that big green boat is followed by big green coat. It's a rhyme and it follows the order of the alphabet. It's infantile stuff. The mom is pleading to her baby boy. This specific idea is reinforced by the music video, with Cameron Winter sitting at one end of a kitchen table and a baby boy at the other, unaware and unfazed, too young to understand anything that's being communicated. It's all right. I'm alright. This is the mom trying to convince herself that everything will be fine, so long as both parties keep up the charade she's so desperate to hold on to. Verse 2. You can change, you can change. You can change repeated 7 more times before baby, you can change and still choose me. The overt repetition here is not just to carry the melody, but is actually very purposeful. For one, there's irony in talking about change while keeping the words you use absolutely the same over and over and over again. Secondly, the repetition is really the mother trying to convince herself at the same time as convincing her son that he will have room to grow and change if he stays. But look at how she positions it. And still choose me. What should be a moment of offering support for her son's journey into adulthood and independence, the mother instead turns herself into a victim, twisting it around so that it's about her. This is classic narcissism and manipulation. She effectively relays that your options are choosing me or not choosing me. There's no in between. This is, of course, an attempt to guilt her son, her baby boy, to ultimately ceding what she wants. Looking at the evolution in the refrain, like a sailor in a big green boat, like a sailor in a big green coat, you can be free, just come home, please. Here we have the mother reverting to nursery rhymes and children's book stanzas, a soothing lullaby to her baby. What's different here, the ending of this refrain is far more desperate than earlier in the song. The strain in Cameron Winter's voice when he sings please emphasizes the desperation in the mom's plea as she realizes her son isn't taking the bait. Lastly, the outro. I'm alright, it's fine, I'm alright. The final minute of the song reuses the soothing lullaby melody before getting eviscerated by a swirling crescendo, signaling the breakdown of both delusion and the lie the mother continues to tell herself. Beyond that, this final stretch of lyrics is like the final cheap shot of a manipulative parent, effectively using the passive-aggressive, it's fine, I don't need you, kind of guilt-inducing tactic. The music video for the song reinforces this intentionally manipulative tone of these last words. Cameron heads into a bedroom, crawls into a crib, and quickly assumes a fetal position. This suggests there's some lingering guilt, and perhaps it's a momentary return of the son to his form as a helpless baby, mirroring how he's seen by his mother. Some final thoughts to leave you with. While the best lyricists are fantastic storytellers and can put on the masks of others and really step outside of their own experiences, there's usually some nugget of truth in every song. I mentioned this earlier in the episode. I think the song title "Au Pays de Cocaine" isn't a direct reference to addiction or drug use by anyone in the song, but instead an abstract reference to a time and a place in Cameron Winter's life when his reality was similarly aligned with what the song depicted. When Cameron wrote the lyrics for Au Pays, he was 22 years old and living at home with his parents. At this moment, he was gearing up to move out while his newfound success was shooting him into the limelight of the rock music industry, something often perceived and described as the land of cocaine, or Au Pays de Cocaine. Honestly, I think that's all it is. A reference to the new world Cameron was stepping into as he embraced adulthood and sought independence away from the oversight of his parents. With that in mind, it's critical for me to point out this is an analysis of the lyrics. I'm not questioning anyone's character, definitely not suggesting Cameron's mom is anything like that mom in the song. She's very likely a wonderful woman, so don't you go harassing her because of this analysis. There you have it, Au Pays de Cocaine, the last lullaby of a narcissistic mother. It's a complex song that touches on love, power, manipulation, delusion, grief, acceptance, and change within a family. And more than anything, it's a song that explores identity. A mother losing hers, and a son on the precipice of finding his own. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay connected when new content drops. I'm Andrew. This was AC Accidental. Thanks for watching.